supposed to volunteer through the STEP program, so I've always been involved. You know, hunting, fishing is my biggest passion. It took me a while to realize that you can actually get paid for that at the same time. So, yeah, I feel very fortunate to have landed this job, and I'm learning a lot. I get to work with quite a few of you actually. And right now we've got a big program going on. I'm sure a lot of you are probably more familiar with than I, but the Fish Eggs to Fry program, where we bring fish tanks into classrooms and we get to deliver eggs. We utilize a lot of volunteers for this. Couldn't do anything in the STEP program without volunteers, so I'm happy to have you. If you guys would really like to get activated, reach out and we'll get you busy. But yeah, we're in the Fish Eggs to Fry program. We just finished with the Spring Chinook program, where we had 173 classrooms throughout our district. This is the biggest district in the state, and then this was also last season the biggest eggs to fry season ever since 1981, I think. So it's pretty cool. We get to engage a lot of kids. You know, we have like 40,000 some odd Spring Chinook eggs and released them all over. Week after next, we're kicking off the Rainbow Trout program, which is quite a bit smaller. You know, we have less than 100 schools participating in that, or classrooms, I should say. Some schools have multiple tanks, but it's a really fun program. And we act, you know, it's not only eggs to fry, we do fishing events with all sorts of other schools and organizations. We loan out a lot of fishing gear. We help stock fish for other events that we're not necessarily, you know, helping put on, but we also do acclimation throughout the district. Get to do quite a bit, to be honest. So yeah, looking forward to just hearing what you guys are all about, and thanks for having me. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Not that I necessarily have the answer, but I can try. All good?
What was the program that you were with USW?
The Salmon and Trout Enhancement Program. So yeah, the acronym is STEP. So there was the position was vacant for like the last 18 months. Someone was in a job rotation, so yeah, we were without a STEP biologist for some time in this district. And
a lot of you guys remember Jeff Cole?
yeah,
Jefferson.
Yep, Jeff, or even John Cox was after Jeff Cole. So yeah, a lot of education and outreach. Although I will say the Eggs to Fry program takes up a long time. It's fantastic, and I actually got to do that when I was in elementary school. It was really cool. So my grandparents were really busy to help build the acclimation facility out of Gardner. You know, lower on the wall, which you guys have probably heard about recently because of an unfortunate fish kill that someone had done intentionally there. But yeah, feels good to be back in the line of work.
He's the man who's going to work with Terry. I know he's going to set up like bull run acclimation. You guys help us out with those fish and stuff. There. He sets up like volunteer cooking things. There's a lot of stuff. A lot of things like you guys do.
Yeah, I think there's a really good opportunity. Other districts do some clipping events, and we do some marking, hand marking of our winter steelhead out of the Sadie Hatchery, where we double index the wild, you know, the fish that have the wild component. We take their maxillary, their left maxillary, as well as their adipose. And so if anyone wants to get involved, the summer's the time for that one. Also, we run a spring Chinook weir and trap on Bull Run River for all of our hatchery fish. So there's an opportunity to volunteer and come wrangle some fish, which is a pretty unique opportunity, I will say. You know, you're handling these fish that are all juiced up and unanesthetized. It's a very rare opportunity to handle spring Chinook in that manner. So really fun. And that's the best part about the STEP program is that you get to work with the public and get them engaged and kind of turned on to the type of work that we do. So yeah, it feels good to work with fish. I've always worked with fish since I've been in this district. Actually, I used to work on the Pinniped Management Program where for a few years I helped remove some of those sea lions in the area, which is kind of a wild but necessary job, and you know maybe they can do a little more of that. But it feels good to be back working with fish. Yes.
Have you ever eaten any of the sea lion?
No, you wouldn't want to either. If you ever been really close to a sea lion, the smell is pretty heinous. I don't know. Well, maybe the smell is pretty heinous, I'll say that. And the coloration of the meat is really unique. It's just a really, really dark, almost purple color. I don't know if I'd eat it. Matter of fact, I would. Well, feel free to come up and find me if you need. I got some business cards that you guys would like to reach out.
All right, that was good. Yeah, thank you, buddy. I want gonna do it in the last couple of years and just open it up for questions. I know you guys have a ton of those, and I'll try my best to answer them and see if we can all learn something here. So, who wants to start? Yeah.
Recycle fish today.
Did recycle fish today, yes. We started getting fish. We'll start with winter steelhead. We got the first one in the hatchery, I think it was 25th, right around Thanksgiving of November, actually early popped in. And it was a left max split fish, which is what we just talked about. That is one of the offspring of that at least had one, if not both parents were wild fish. So that was pretty cool. The very first one was in November. It's a good start. We got plenty of rain, plenty of water this year, right? Typically that means that you can still early fish. We have water with fish can go all the way to the river and the creek into the hatchery. Jack's question was that we're recycling, so we've been getting fish trickling in all through December. I think at the end of the year we had 38 as of the 1st. And then this week we just went through them today again. We had another 26 in the trap today. So that put us up to 64. Trying to do my math there, but 64 total. And then we've been keeping a few excess ones on the side in a pen and wait for the water to low enough. Finally, we've had some dry days, like the first 3 dry days stretch since what? Probably November. Finally, the river dropped enough to where I felt comfortable putting some fish back in the lower river and not having them just race right back up to the hatchery. I want you guys to know have a chance to catch them, right? So water dropped down low enough, and we put 42 fish back in today. We whole bunch them on the right side, right gill plate, so a whole bunch in the gill plate, so you guys know that they are into the hatchery once. And we dropped them back in, and I honestly I wasn't paying attention enough to Brandon's, but did he tell you that they caught one? They caught one. They did. They instantly caught one. It's exciting. They like biters. They like. We put them back in, and he came down. He saw us dropping them in, and they caught them immediately. So hatchery fish, they go. It's literally what we tell everybody. There's second chance fish. A lot of times they come up during high water, you know, it's dirty, it's muddy and stuff to catch them. They're just buzzing up the river. So we put them back down. They're excess fish. We keep enough that we need for root, for spawning. The rest of them we put back in and let you guys get a second shot at it. So it's kind of cool. Yeah, 42 fish today we recycled. So they're out there. Oh, 41 now. That's what they're for. Yeah, go ahead.
How, like, early on with the hatchery, they had 1 winter report.
Yep.
9 summers. How do you tell, like, in between seasons, a winter from a summer?
That's a good question. So our summer steelhead on the Sandy, every hatchery summer steelhead on the Sandy is out post clip as well as a right maxillary clip. That's the bone. Okay. Oh, I can't reach that way. See the bone right underneath his eye? It's on the top of its mouth right there. It is very. I'll walk up.
So right max is the summer.
This bone right here, like my finger is the kind of bone right here.
Yeah.
It's touching right here. This is the maxillary bone on a fish. Yep, it's right here, right below the eye.
Yeah.
So summer steelhead, they're hatchery fish. Awesome. Summer steelhead on the Sandy are right. They're missing their right max and adipose. Winter steelhead will have both maxes and a missing adipose, or missing its left max and missing adipose. The left max missing on winter steelhead means that one or both of its parents were a wild fish caught in the lower river typically by anglers and then brought to the hatcheries to help respond.
Okay, so right max is automatically summer.
Right max is a summer, 100%. And we were really confused. I don't even want to dig too far about it stopped like 3 years ago. The Hood River, which is the only other river ever above us that used to have hatchery winter steelhead, we're doing max clips, and we have a few of them pop in every once in a while. They're using crap out of us for a few years. So they stopped that program for now.
So are there any summers with no max clips but have an adipose clip?
If there is, they're not from Sandy Island. It could be a string. They could totally swam up to Columbia and turn right. The rest of them came in here, yes. And then don't get me wrong, I'm sure there's 1 or 2 that get dropped into the tank before they got their hat clip and then didn't miss their max. Very, very rare, but I'm sure it does happen, yes. But that's what you're looking for in the summer. You'll see a right maxillary missing as well as the adipose. So it's very, we look at a ton of them, and it's just very quick. We grab them out of the anesthetic tank, and we flip them over a few times, and you're looking for missing. You look for adipose first, and you look for missing max fins or max clips, and then you can tell very fast what they are. Right? We do that on the boat when we catch them. It's kind of funny. I can see it usually out in the water, to be honest with you. It's just where my eyeballs go. So Yep, that's how we differentiate. They started doing that. I worked at St. Anthony in college, and to be honest, I'm not throwing them under the bus, but the manager, he just was having a hard time. They were keeping some old summer fish, which was still really nice. I mean, we had 2 in the trap today. They were beautiful. They didn't look a whole lot different than the winners in the trap, to be honest with you. We've had a great summer, but he would get confused and they would save a handful of summer fish back in the day, thinking they were winners. Well, we all came up with this easy idea to start right next to them, and it actually, I think it's great for anglers. As soon as you get it, you know. It's really fun because the other way around, you like to know when you're catching early summer steelhead, like March, even sometimes February. You put one in the bottom of the boat, you don't have to worry about cutting it over anything. You just, oh, yep, that's a summer. I can see it's this and it's right next, right there. Also, this holds true for the Clackamas River. Same for the Clackamas River. You guys have fished Clackamas? Any summer steelhead that's hatchery there is missing this right next. Just a good educational tip there. So you can tell everybody else. It amazes me how many guys I watch the fish and catch a ton of fish down there at the hatchery, walking down there all the time. And you tell that to them, they're like, oh yeah. They look back at their pictures, and sure enough, you can see that bone missing. Or they walk out with a fish, and we explain to them what that is. And he's like, how do you know that? Oh, look right there. He's like, oh, I didn't pay attention. So it's kind of a cool little tidbit.
Thank you.
Yeah. Who's next? Oh, you again?
Yeah. All right, so Ryan, can you help people, because I get asked this quite a bit, when you guys at the hatchery are spawning your steelhead, your winter steelhead, and you're doing a left max, you're doing adipose only, you're doing a wild breed integration, can you help explain to people what you guys are trying to achieve? Are you doing only left max with one native fish, or are you doing native on native only, or what are you guys trying to do? Because this is a question that comes up all the time. I think the explanation of what you guys are trying to do needs to be explained so everybody understands what you're trying to do.
I will tell you, you're asking a question that I've asked for the last like 7 or 8 years, and I still have not got a perfect answer, but I'll tell you what I've come to learn. So I'll start at the start. Sandy used to have a stock of steelhead from Big Creek Hatchery, which is down the coast of Astoria. Those are the ones put here that everybody loves to fish for. They start coming in pretty hot and heavy around Thanksgiving. They peak like right now, the first week or so of January. And honestly, by February, you're out of hatchery fish. That's just a wild fishery. That's what it used to be, 70s, 80s, 90s. Late 90s, they switched it around and started taking wild fish from Martin Dam, taking them to the hatchery and spawning just wild fish to create the stock of hatchery steel we have now.
So is that wild on wild?
It was wild on wild, yep. So they started that, and like it was 98, 99, it was right about the time. I know Jack and we were kids, and they were acclimating the very end of those Big Creek stock fish up there at the Appalachian Pond and Marmot, and then that all kind of stopped. They started taking wild fish, spawning those together. They phased out the hatchery component of the Big Creek stock, and they got smart about this. And so to make sure we didn't even use any of those to make the next group of hatchery fish, they did a right maxillary clips before we did the summer steelhead maxillary clips. They did a right maxillary clip on those fish so that we didn't use any of those to make the future stocks of winter steelhead. So what happened is they call them F1s, and we started taking, they did 3 years in a row, taking all wild fish, and once they got enough hatchery fish back to the hatchery, they started using those to make the next group of hatchery fish. And then they also, and Jack knows this too, that's when we started integrating wild fish into those fish to keep the adaptations of the wild fish going. Because you don't just want to do it once and then not do it again. You'll lose anything they're learning on the wild, anything they're learning in the ocean, anything they're learning as juveniles moving down. Everything's changing. Every year we have something different, they're learning something new. These fish are doing that, so we want to make sure we keep adding those adaptations into the genetics of these fish that we're raising and passing on. And so that happened until 2011. We had to stop integrating wild fish because of the lawsuit. I started up here at the hatchery in 2015, started bugging enough people and asking questions. 2017, we started doing the wild fish program again. And then, so to Brandon's point, what we're up to now is we got to keep 2%, up to 2% of the estimated wild fish run, like the complete run, the entire basin. So that's a number they use based on spawning beds and reds and live fish counts, and they'll do all these numbers. They'll come up with a number saying this is how many wild fish we think are in the basin. and then we can only use up to 2%. Well, we've had some good runs lately. I'm sure the number's a little higher than what we were allowed to use, but we don't want to push it. The program's working. We're getting fish back in, we're catching them, so we haven't bumped the number up the last few years. But 49 is kind of the magic number we've done the last 7 years. Like we're on year 8 now again, since we started back up. So those fish are caught in the lower river down here. We take them up to the hatchery, we hold them, they start, we brought some in right around, what is it, Christmas this year, I think? Yeah. And then we'll do it right till about the first week of March or so. And if you keep them any later than that, it starts getting tough to get them the right amount of time for us to actually make a full-size smolt the next year. They are actually, steelhead is crazy. Steelhead smolts, as far as hatchery world goes, they're the latest spawning fish. They want us to get them the biggest. Like, they have to be the biggest before they go to the ocean, but they spawn the latest. So we have the shortest window of time to get them the biggest size as far as all species of fish are raised. So we kind of have a cutoff date about the first week of April to where we're spawning, to where we can still get these fish to size to release them the next April. It's kind of a crazy deal, but it goes fast. And then Brandon's point is, this question is, the ratios now, what we're trying to spawn, since we can't spawn all wilds together to make enough eggs to release enough fish, which is good. That means we get to release a lot of fish. We release 160,000 steelhead every year, which is the highest in the state. There's only 2 places that release more, and it's Rogue River, so Core Hatcheries down the road, and then Clackamas. Clackamas River actually has, they do 225,000. We do 160, and I think it's 250,000 down on the road. So for what it's worth, we do great. I mean, I know everybody likes to compare to Wilson, and I like to use this like analogy. They only do 125,000. We actually release more when we're stealing than Sandy and Wilson does. So there should be more fish, right? Technically, I think we get a lot more pressure. To be honest with you. This place gets hammered up here. Okay, sorry about that. Back to the question. So we have the wild fish, and we need enough eggs, so we do spawn hatchery fish still. Again, we just talked about these hatchery fish came from wild fish that were spawned eggs. Well, it's 25 years ago now. But we're adding these adaptations to these wilds, we're keeping them going. So the goal is to try to use as many of these adults that are coming back that had at least one, if not both parents that were wild, to spawn either together or with another wild, if that makes sense. So we will spawn as many wilds with another wild as we can get. I know last year we did 16 pair of wilds, which is pretty cool. We only do about, I think it's like 60 pairs total, probably. So 60 males and females together to get enough eggs for our whole program. 16 of those last year were wild pairs. So wild male, wild female. That's pretty cool. The other males that we had, I know we spawned every male that we had on hand. It was like 25 males. Like I said, it was 49 fish. It was like 20, it was 26 males. I don't know off the top of my head. 26 and 23, I want to say. And then we got 16 of those girls to spawn, like I just said, with 16 of the males. That left like 9 other males. And we spawned those 9 males with 9 left max hatchery females. So as goofy as this sounds, those babies were 75% genetically wild, if that makes sense, right? And the left max fish was at least 50% wild, if not 100%. We don't know. We don't do like a third clip to differentiate that. It's just a lot going on. But we did definitely 100%. I know that for a fact that we did, with every wild fish that we had from this brood swine program, we did either wild or wild with a left max hatchery fish. So that was pretty cool. There is 2 other spawns that we do of hatchery fish. The first spawn is typically more of our just standard, none of the parents were a wild fish from the generation before, like 1 generation out. But that doesn't mean that they weren't from originally the wild genetics, right? Just like we talked about 25 years ago, all of this came from those. So those fish are still in the system. Plus we have left max fish that we just started standard hatchery fish as well. And we're probably up to like, I would say 30% of the hatchery fish when we're doing just hatchery, or 30% of those fish are probably left max fish. We had a lot of them last year. We don't get as many at the hatchery though because you guys catch a lot of them. There's some truth to that too. They're biters. That's like as part of this program and this, it's not even really a study anymore. I think it's kind of proven these fish are genetically aggressive, more aggressive than typical fish because their parents were caught on hook and line. These are the aggressive ones. These are what we want. We want hatchery fish to bite. We want people to catch them. We want you to take them home. We want to eat them. I don't consider success when we get fish back to a hatchery. That, even though there's a cool number on the board, that's not success. We are a harvest. We raise fish for harvest. We want people to catch them and take them home. So the more people that catch them, the better the fishery is, in my opinion. So we could probably raise a ton of fish just to get them back, but it wouldn't mean that's a good fishery, right? Yeah.
Years and years ago, I heard you get 1/10 or 1% back.
So you're talking about return numbers?
Yeah.
The goal for return numbers in a hatchery is 1%. 1% is doing good. Yep. So we raise 100. So like we try to release 160,000, 1,600 fish back to the hatchery would be a win. That would be doing really good. There's a lot of other factors that go into it, like how many fish are caught, you got predation, you got ocean conditions, all kinds of other stuff. But yes, back to the hatchery, 1% is good. Steelhead typically are under 1%, to be honest with you. It's usually lower. Like different species, Chinook kind of usually hang around that 1%. They're usually always right in there. Coho are usually higher. They're usually 1.5 to 2%. They just usually survive better. Yeah.
Do you keep track of the harvest records on the not released?
I don't, but catch cards now with all this information online, they get a lot more information off it. Yes, 100%. That's how they estimate how many fish we're actually going to river each year. They call that it's SARs, small to adult return. Yeah, that's not good. They do. They add all those numbers up and try to. You guys know when you read like the spring Chinook forecast and stuff, it's a really good number. It's annual, you'll say 6,000, 7,000, something like that. That's everything they think that comes in. Because they'll ask us how many got at the hatchery. They'll try to put a number on how many were caught. Try to put a number on how many got into the upper river and spawned by spawning surveys and all that. And they put all this numbers. So it's just a big algorithm they put together. So it's not perfect science, but yes, that's where those numbers come from. Yeah.
Kind of two parts. So how was the wild run up Cedar Creek at Coho this year? And I know you said maybe, not immediate future, but maybe a broodstock Coho program and movement on that.
Yes, no, great question. So record wild Coho return of Cedar Creek this year, Pasco Hatchery. I know with Jackson included, it was over 1,000. We actually had 2 Coho in the trap today, January 9th. So two wild Coho alive, looking kind of old, but still swimming around. So, yeah, what was the number? I just wrote it down. It's 1,012 now total fish, which is crazy. We just destroyed the record. The last 5 years has increased every year, and it's nuts. We do, I think I told you guys before, we run a screw trap that's catching out smolts right above the weir there on Cedar Creek, right at the hatchery. And every year, we just get inundated with Coho smolts coming down. They're all wild fish that are surviving that. That creek is thriving. I mean, I don't understand it. It's crazy because you think more people are moving in, living on it, but those Coho are invincible, it seems like. They're a force. Yeah, we had, I think it was just over 4,500 hatcheries and just over 1,000 wilds came back to the hatchery this year at Cedar Creek. So very good return. And you're talking numbers of percentages back. So we released 200,000 Coho. And we got 4,500 back. That's 2.5%. Right? 2.25. Yeah, very good. Very good. So Coho are always impressive. They're an impressive animal. They can survive warm water and seem not to get sick as well. And you guys have all seen the Coho returns pretty much everywhere last year. It's been very robust. So yeah, no, good question.
And broodstock.
Oh, yes. I keep bugging. I'm good at doing that. I'm going to keep bugging. And yes, we've talked about that is such a crazy healthy run of taking some of those fish and using those to create a hatchery group out of that. And then they, on paper, they kind of peak 2, 3, even 4 weeks later than the hatchery fish. So if we get this going, it would be a November fishery basically for Coho of quality fish. There's always fish around, but it would probably be some nice clean fish in November to take home. So yeah, that is a goal. Yep. I know. I'll just roll that into another thing. I like to always kind of update everybody on these. So HGMPs, it's an acronym fancy. It's a Hatchery Genetic Management Plan. It's basically a paperwork that is approved by NOAA that allows us to do what we do. It's got everything in it from all the policies on how to handle fish, where, when, how wide, how many, all the numbers. Everything that I've said tonight is in that, and it has to be approved by feds. And allows us to do it, like they give us our release numbers, everything's in there. And they have not been updated since the lawsuit, so it's been a long time. I think the most recent version is 2013, so they're in the works of getting updated right now, which is pretty cool. So we're gonna update a ton of language and put all the new stuff we're doing into it. We're trying to put some numbers, higher numbers in there. It's not really sneaking it by, we're gonna prove about what we do with all these integration programs and how well everything's been going. And we're gonna try to get some numbers back up as far as release time. So that's coming in the works for next year, so that's exciting. And then, yes, that would be a perfect time to add in things like the coho root stock. We already do, the other two species are the spring chinook, which we actually integrate wild fish into that program as well. We've already talked about the winter steelhead, and then the third one that we raise full term at the hatchery or coho. And we would like to add wild integration into that program as well. So pretty soon we'll be doing all three of the species we raise there. We'll be adding wild fishing, which is only good things coming of that. That allows you to keep raising more fish and put more fish out there because I'm not worried about those fish straying and mingling with the wild fish. So yeah, Rob.
I heard a couple things about maybe there would have been a larger number of rootstock this year taken, but
Not this year.
if there was
Hopefully in the
something or
future.
something that didn't happen, or no one said no, or.
We just haven't gotten that far. Still in the process of rewriting everything. Yep. So, I mean, as of right now, we're just status quo and what we've done the last few years. But yes, we are asking for more, to release more, which would mean to take more wild fish as well.
And then another quick one, the spare smolts this year, they're only going to be half is what we did last year.
Yep, we didn't get them all, they didn't survive, is the easy way to put it. Yeah, we're down, we typically shoot the, 200,000, we have about 109,000 alive right now. We had a bad egg year for a couple years in a row, so this year we're looking really good though. Our new group coming off, I think there's 300 and some thousand fry alive to hatch right now, so. Just kind of hit a bad stretch, a bad summer, and the bills didn't fare well, so the eggs didn't fare well. It's funny, we had some down years of winter steelhead, and then the springers are doing great, and the springer eggs went down. It's kind of cyclic. It's funny how salmon and steelhead are usually opposite as well. When we're having killer salmon runs, usually the steelhead runs aren't as good. You have really good steelhead runs, the salmon runs, it's opposite. I don't know. They do go different places in the ocean. That would be the easiest, excuse, for a better word to say, is why that is. But yeah, right now, steelhead's on the up and up. Salmon are kind of hanging, Hopefully we keep having some good years. We'll find out. But yes, the spring chinook group this year is not quite half, about 60% of what it usually is. So, yep. Yeah.
So on the die-off on the smolts, do you put that in on parasites coming down Cedar Creek, or does your filtration system, UV system, kill that parasites, or is it just a temperature thing?
So smolts did their normal thing this year. The drum filter, all that was working great. We actually didn't have a crazy hot summer. It does still get 70 every year up there. We do have a lot of bugs, but all of our treatments and our systems were working great. It was an egg thing, which they correlated to, what's a better word? It's not unhealthy. The adults came in very weak. Their immune systems were weak. The ocean has been weak. There's a vitamin called thiamine. I don't know if any of you guys ever heard of that. It's kind of a relatively new deal. Our head fish pathologist for OWW, name's Amy Reed. She's written papers on it. She's dug way into this, and I've learned a bunch about it here the last few years. It's a vitamin that salmon and steelhead will get out of the ocean from eating, I'm going to say it backwards. I think it was in the anchovies. And they weren't getting enough anchovies here the last few years, which is the way the fishes in the ocean can attest to. It's been kind of crazy. They're finally coming back now, but for a while they were gone. They were kind of really, you couldn't find them out there. So these fish were not getting this vitamin. We started supplementing. We tried the actual fish and the fry by letting it soak in this vitamin and stuff, and it was kind of working. The last few years now, we figured out how to do it, get them in the eggs. So immediately after fertilization, salmon and steelhead eggs have to water harden. And typically we do that in a disinfectant called iodophor. It's like iodine. And that disinfects everything. So you mix it in water, the egg hardens up, sperms inside of it, everything starts working. We started doing a solution of this vitamin, the thiamine, So let that vitamin soak into the egg during the water hardening process. We've been doing that 2 years in a row now. Amazing. And we were actually the first one this year to do it. We did it on winter steelhead, and it was working great. So I asked her if we could do it on our coho and our spring chinook this year, and we did. And magic, we have more fish than we've ever had in a line after the egg process. Typically, we lose about 10% of our eggs during each process. So like, even from fertilization, what they call hide up, the first month or so, when you put eggs in the water, so you get the little eyeballs inside. You usually lose about 10%. I think we only lost like 5% of our eggs this year. So it was night and day how well it worked. So we're learning new stuff every year. The eggs are looking a lot better this year. We're definitely going to do it again on the winter steelhead groups coming up. It's kind of a cool thing. Now, if you guys ever get really bored, look up the time and read about it. It's a lot. It's interesting. Yeah.
I'm good. Oh, might as well. I never see you at the hatchery.
He was creeping around there today.
Two things. From egg to fry to smoked, what's the time period?
What's the time period?
Yeah, like 2 years?
So it's all based on what we call temperature units. It's just math. It is funny. It's how warm the water is in the eggs or frying. And so basically, we use spring water, which is set. Let's just use it. It's 52, right? 52 degree water. Anything above a 32, anything above freezing is a temperature unit. So they get 20 temperature units a day. And we have mapped out years way before I ever started doing this. They have it all mapped out on what the number of temperature units it is for each stage, whether they're eyed up, whether they are going to hatch, whether they're buttoned up as they soak in all their egg yolk and everything and are ready to go in the pond and start feeding. All of that is on temperature units. It's pretty cool. You can put it down to the exact day. And we still visually do it. We'll still test the fish out and look and make sure that their egg yolk and everything's all absorbed and stuff. We'll still do it visually, old school too, but technology is there, and it works very well. You're talking smolts. So let's just do coho and spring chinook. They're weirdly almost spawn at the same time. Springers are like September, October, and then the coho are spawn in November. Those are all fry right now at the hatchery. We will put those outside and start feeding. We'll put them in tanks and troughs and start feeding them. Our first group of spring chinook is in what is it, 9th? I think it's the 16th, so next week. Our first group of spring chinook will go in a trough and start feeding them. We have 4 groups of spring chinook. Those will all sequentially about once a week go out in the troughs. We'll fill all those up. And then the coho are right behind them. It's like Valentine's Day. The coho go outside because they're spawned about a month later. They'll go outside and start feeding them. Those fish are only there for about a year. The springers are going to go, our last year group of springers that were probably out January, February, are going to go down to the activation pond in February. So it's like a 1-year deal on site there is actually being live fish. And then I already mentioned earlier, the winter steelhead are even shorter. We'll spawn February and March, and then they're released. They don't even hatch. We don't start feeding them until roughly Memorial Day, just by how that whole process works with them. And then we start feeding them on Memorial Day. Let's just say June 1st for better reason. They got until mid-April the following year to go out. So it's even a shorter period. So it's interesting. It goes fast. We pump them up pretty quick. A lot of feed, a lot of vitamins, a lot of nutrients. Good question. Fire, yeah.
How many years does steelhead usually go out and stay in the ocean before they come back?
That's a good question. So Brandon mentioned it earlier. We always say like 1 salt, 2 salt, 3 salt. That's usually we're talking about how many years they stay in salt water. Steelhead average, I would say 2. So like an average steelhead is what, 7-8 pounds, somewhere in there, right? That's probably a 3-year-old. If it's a hatchery fish, probably a 3-year-old fish and spent 2 of those years in salt water. Steelhead are a little goofy on putting little tiny things good, interesting. At least most wild steelhead will spend 2 years in freshwater besides it. I was telling you, we pump them up quickly in a year. Most of them, it takes 2 years just because they start out real small and they're already into a rough part of the year. They're already it's more like a year and a half, to be honest with you. They spend typically 2 winters in freshwater before they head out. So, good question. Yeah.
Do you live spawn your rootstock steelhead?
Yes, great question. All wild winter steelhead are live spawn. We put tags in them. We live spawn. These guys have actually caught fish that we've used in the program. Live spawn, released, come back the next year with tags still in them. These guys are caught and put it back in the program again. So, yep, we see it just about every year. somebody sends me a picture, these guys tell me about it. We've even had them come back to the trap at Cedar Creek, that one would be above the weird wild fish.
Are those both like tags behind the dorsal?
We do different colors, but yes, they'll be, we put two of them right next to the dorsals. They say sandy hatchery on them. If you catch them in here, we've caught fish from other places too. We've seen the dowels, Wood River, a bunch of random ones. But yeah, these fish that we do in this program will have tags on there right next to the dorsal that say sandy hatchery on it. We like to see it. And it's cool when they come back. It kind of proves we're doing it right, we're keeping them healthy, and it's working. So it's a pretty neat deal. Yeah. No, great question. Live spawning 100% on all the wild fish. We kill spawn the hatchery fish, but live spawning on wild fish. Yeah. The live spawning, for you don't know, is literally just squirting the boy into a cup, putting them back in the truck, sending them back down here. And then the girls, we actually will hold her vent over a bucket, and we'll take just pressurized air canister with the needle, and we're down, squeeze air in her belly, shoots the eggs right out of the vent, doesn't harm her one bit. We'll put her back in the water and burp her, get all the air back out, give her a little TLC for a minute, bring her back, give her a free ride back down to the lower river, and let her head back out to the ocean. So, works very well. Yeah.
So the tag, we got one to bring the tag for fish and boat back in the hatchery or?
So they're not like a reward or anything, it's just for information. It's just, I like using it to keep track of them at the hatchery. It's kind of cool. I keep a spreadsheet every year of when the fish came in, so I'll have a number on the tag. And it tells us when, where it was caught, the date and everything. And so I like to correlate. We always thought like all the early fish that are caught, let's say we caught some in December, first part of January, everybody would think by the end of March, first part of April, those are going to be ready to spawn, right? It's not always the case. Some of those fish don't even spawn by the end of April. They're not ready to go. It might be the very first fish that come in, the very first one we catch from this program, but they might not spawn. It's very interesting to see the correlations there. And we do, if they don't spawn in our time frame, we will release them back down here in the lower river, let them go back and do their own thing. We'll send them on their way. So even the boys, I guarantee every single male that we use for this program still goes out in nature and spawns up somewhere where it's supposed to be. Because we only get a little drop of that, we don't need much. He's fully ready to go, just like all those guys. He'll go back up there and do his thing. He'll take off up there. He'll go find some more ladies. So we just take a little smidge out of those things, send them back. The girls, we get most of the eggs out. They typically are all spent, and they're going to go down. But we don't get everything out. They might still give a few eggs, but yes, the tags are just to see, as long as keep track of the timing, and then to see if some come back. It kind of makes you feel better. Like, okay, good, we didn't kill these things by doing this. We let them out there and they survived and came back. So
that's all. If it's one, they should take a picture and send it in.
Yes, yeah. Don't take that's good. Yeah. Don't take the tags out of the reward or anything. Just people usually just say, hey, I caught. We do a cool thing too, even if you don't want to mess with it or handle it or anything. We actually have 3 different color tags, and we rotate them each year. And so we're on year 8 again. We've rotated through. So somebody will call and say, hey, I caught one with a white tag in its back. I'm like, all right, I can tell you that was from 2 years ago.
I caught on the Klamath River from California, tag fish, they took the heads and everything, they gave you a card, saying which hatchery and all that stuff. That's good.
Okay, that's different. That is, yeah, that's what Brandon said. That's coded wire tags. They do that in salmon. It's a little basically a little, it's a piece of pencil lead, basically what it looks like, but it's got little annotations on it that'll tell you which hatchery and what year that fish came from. They scan it at the dock with a metal detector, chop it off, give you a card. Yeah, it'll tell you everything about that fish, where it grew up, when it was released. It's pretty sick. Different tags. Yeah, these are little, well, if you look, it does, it's great. Look right under the dorsal fin of that fish. I can see this. Is the top one?
Yep.
This right there is a gray, it's called a ploy tag. I almost forgot it. Well, you were going to kill me if I said spaghetti. Ploy tag right there, a little gray one, itty bitty. It's not even the size of that, that's a big fish. Yes, that is 100% it. That's what they look like. They are light. They are color as Jones gender. So we don't try to make them super bright because you don't really want somebody to see them out there. I don't want somebody to go and find a wild fish because they can see a tag like that. That's not fair. But we do gray. It's like a gray, a green, and a blue. that we've been using the last few years. So,
I think the caption said that was 17 and a half.
that's a big one.
Yep.
Yep, that's a healthy one. I'm not gonna lie, that means offspring. I just touched today, and I think Jack said he caught it. There's a big one that just got brought in this week. Looks about like that. A lot brighter than that. There's a nice fish.
Okay, you got 2 more questions. 2 more.
Yeah.
So when they're out in the salts, are they schooling up and where are they going?
You know, I got nothing on that was a fantastic question. I still have no idea what they're doing this all day. I actually got a call and an email this week from a guy. They did a study, his partner did a study, the Sea-Tuck, I believe, in Alaska. And they do these satellite tags. They actually harness them to the back of the fish. It's all new to me. I just read this like 2 days ago. They put a harness on the back of the fish, and they got these $3,800 float pop-up tags. It's like you see on like, like Shark Week. They put on these sharks with like a miniature version, and they're putting them on. They put on 30 steelhead. They let them swim back out, and they start activating when they hit the salt. And they keep track for however many days. I think it was like a month. They keep track of where these things went, and then it popped up and floats to the surface and sends all the data out. And they actually want to do some practice tagging here in Oregon. They got a hold of me. They want to use the passion fish to practice this harness. We're just going to put a bobber on there for now. We're going to pay that much money. Yeah. They want to practice this stuff and see if the fish can survive. It's pretty invasive. They got this huge hypodermic needle, and you got to thread this kind of basic wire through them. Tie it on the side. It looks like a saddle. We're going to try it. And so hopefully they don't die, number one. And number two, they want to do it on fish that we're going to spawn and release and head out to the ocean. And once they hit salt, so it's supposed to be this open data. So that's pretty cool to see where fish go in the ocean. I would love it. I do not know where steelhead go in the ocean. Everything and everybody ever taught me, they always say they go straight west, like towards Japan.
And they're typically a higher water column feeder. So it would be like a 60 fathoms or shallow. Okay. So they're going to be like 200 feet, maybe up to 300 and shallower. We're sure sometimes we go down to 400 or 500 feet. So they're typically a shallower water feeder. And that's the problem with those past 200 miles. They got these long drift nets from these other countries, and they do capture a lot of steelhead. So.
Yep, but this, like, if we get this data back, this will be cool. So how deep they go, how far they go, where they go. The little smidge that I looked at, you have a map, and they follow, what's that called, the continental shelf that follows the Aleutian Islands. They kind of follow out there, and I'm guessing the current is kind of pushing along that, which makes sense in my head. You see a little variance here and there on this map, and I would guess that's where they kind of chase food or something, they're gonna run off to something. So it was cool. There's a little study going on. We're starting to do stuff like that to read and see, kind of figure out where they go. So, no, great question. I would love to answer that. Still got time?
Got one more. Got time for one more.
One more? Yeah.
I was curious, so the broodstock fish are considered the genetically more desirable ones, right?
Yes and no.
The ones in their re-release.
So broodstock is actually a very loose term in the word. It just means what we keep to spawn. So you're talking about the wild fish,
Right, the wild fish. Mm-hmm. So I was curious if those are the ones that are getting live spawned and re-released and then those, continue to live a probably longer life. Why was the decision made to deface those ones instead of the other ones?
We're just doing that just to see how well they come back, see if they're being caught more.
Right.
So when anglers catch them.
Those ones instead of switching it and marking the ones you can kill. You know
I mean, we could. The truth is technically, it's actually easier, fiscally easier because there's less of those fish. So we're doing actually less fish. And it doesn't actually hurt them. They don't have any nerves or anything in their face. It's not. I've heard jokes and stuff when we started doing max clips. The guys are like, "Oh, you can't catch them from one side of the river. You can't catch them with that." Hundreds of pictures of this stuff just buried in that cartilage where that max clip is supposed to be. It doesn't make a difference.
Running back to your question when you asked that, I don't know, Dad and I will say we fish practically every day. I'm going to say we're probably 3 to 2 left max fish the last several years versus just a adipose only. Right. So even though there's less release of that left max clip, we're catching more of them. Now, not being a scientist, it shows that I feel like those fish are definitely better biters.
Right, they're better.
So far, I think this year Dad's only got left max fish, right?
Yeah.
that's a big deal, right?
I just feel like you're physically.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's at a 10 and you catch. We'll have one.
I don't think it physically does anything different to them, other than just the appearance, and that's.
Like how many guided trip or anything I've ever been on, it's always like holding the picture, so that's not the visible side.
Then they're just trying to hide, they're probably trying to hide where they are, because there's a lot of other fisheries that do that, to differentiate which group of fish you're catching. So that's just the guy, now a lot of people know where that. I'm proud of our fish here, so I tell everybody to show us that. Every single person that catches them, I'm like, do that max clip? They're like, huh? No, I want to know. I want to know if those are ones like and stuff. So, yeah, physically, I don't think it hurts them. And then, I believe that they're more aggressive. They're kind of red.
I don't dispute that it's a better fish.
Yeah.
Why that one's defaced versus cooking the non.
The easiest answer I can say is because we're less. It's a lot of work. It takes us it's kind of what you referred to at the start. It takes us about 3 weeks to do it.
But they do clip all the summer fish.
All summer fish are right next to it. Correct. Yep. 100%.
So it can be done.
You can, yeah. Just take more time and effort, yeah, for sure. Yep. No, this was more just it's a trial thing too. We're not going to do it forever. Once we get far into this, and we're spawning just wild fish or wild with left max. If we ever get to a year where we spawn wilds or left maxes, and we never have to use another one, we don't have to do anything. Because I know what they are. Yeah, no, that's the goal. So we're trying to get to. It's not a forever. It was just a quick little time piece, just as.
It's a step into that program.
10-year goal. Yeah, exactly. Yep. So as far as I know, like I said, I haven't seen any signs. We do it all over, all across different species and stuff too. As max clips are a very effective and healthy way without hurting fish and still getting the results. Yep. Good. Is that it? You guys good? Good.
All right, thanks, Ryan.
Don't hesitate. Anybody in this room, anybody you guys know have questions, call, email, come to the Hatchery. I'm fine with it. I'll tell you what I know. That's what I do. That's for 20 years and I love it. So. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, one other thing that I tend to forget, I've given up in years. Chapter elections are April. So if you want to get rid of a forgetful old president, now's your time. Plan your coup, okay? All right, it'll take 5 minutes and then we'll have some drawings.
In the stream.